where I'm activated. They tried to lock me in their box, but I evacuated. Now they infatuated the way I move on. But first, arrest them cops that killed Brianna. Let me take to these lyrics. I'm trying to address your mental. These bars is supplemental. Hope it clean your temple. Soon as I walk through the door, they look like Aku Central. Cause they feel my energy. My vibe is like a symphony. So let me compose this. My room call me Moses. They don't know what the sign is. It's under their noses. I'm planted like roses. I come from the concrete. They stepped on me. So I had to build up like Chauncey. I'm different. And if you sleep on me, you tripping. I spit that water for your sipping. I'm trying to reach the masses. I come from clay just like my name was Cassius. I'm in a different mood. Yeah, I move by different codes. This food for your soul. So grab a plate, nigga. Before you get seconds, make sure everybody ate, nigga. And put something up if your homie running late, nigga. Let us say grace so much as sleep on my plate. You know about it.
Jordan, turn that bell off. You know how to turn it off? You know how to turn it off?
Vision like? Are you on point with your goals? What's your precision like? Yeah, you like chasing them bags, but what's your giving like? Hey, before we get left, make sure you living right. It's so subjective, they don't get the message. I'm on this mic dropping gems, yeah, I drop electives. Nah, I mean, I'm dropping gems, these for your collection. Just hold it closer, you'll see your reflection. I know God walking with me, but I still keep protection. I've been abstaining from these streets, my lifestyle's a blessing. But I keep that.
Appreciate everybody tuning in for Our Black Agenda, A Guide to Black Power. Again, today we'll be talking about community engagement in politics. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Remember, you can go get the book from Amazon. You can go get the book from ourblackslate.com. We'd rather you go to ourblackslate.com unless you're in the boonies. We make more money from it, so you know they go like Amazon ain't what it is, but I'm just kidding. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. I got my man here, Jason, that's gonna be explaining the community stuff with me. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Jason Hyman, I'm a local real estate broker and urban planner. So I am the president of Third Ward Super Neighborhood number 67. So I'm here to hopefully connect you guys to some resources, some different things that we can do in the community.
For sure. Look, my man go drop it with you. This is I always want to invite people that's doing the work. So you know we always try to lead with that, and people that's in the fight actually doing stuff. So we appreciate it. Thanks for everybody that's tuning in. Remember, make sure that you get the book Our Black Agenda, A Guide to Black Power. If you're in Houston too, don't forget you can come to the Black Store, come pick it up. But let's make sure that we get in here. So some of the topics that we'll be discussing today when it comes to community engagement in politics, talking about detailed city council budgets and expenditures, just the budgets of the people that's in elected officials, city charters. We'll talk about people that, if you don't know what that is, transforming city ordinances, community accountability and updates, monetizing and empowering community groups. And of course, we always want to talk about the solutions and what can we do better to improve those situations. So let's go ahead and start. So community engagement in politics.
Engagement in politics.
What comes to your mind when you think about that?
Man, it's really truly it's the root of the community, right? The community engagement in politics is kind of what influences the words on the paper that we got to follow a lot of times, right? We don't understand the power of that a lot of times. They're like, really truly in our neighborhoods collectively, we have a lot of influence in what can and can't happen.
For sure.
We allow it on some level.
So you think we allow it, or do you think people not understand the levels that complete? Because I say this all the time. at the meeting, I'll say, how many people raise your hand that we want change? Of course, that's gonna be 100% people say we need change.
Yeah.
Then I say, who is your city council member? Nobody raised their hand.
No, it's levels to it. You're right. I think they go hand in hand. When I say allow it, I'm not saying that we don't want better.
For sure.
I'm just saying, for whatever number of reasons, it gets allowed. But the education is a real big piece. That's why I think the book, kind of takes care of that. I'm reading through it, especially when you get to the end in these sections of these chapters, and it's got these takeaways
For sure.
about what to go and do. Because at the end of the day, I can preach to you all day about these ordinances, all this stuff, but at the end of the day, we just need the direct action. What do you need me to do? Go
For
do
sure.
it. So
I think and that's funny because I feel like in every, and again, when we in the making of the book, of course we studied other people's black agendas, and a lot of times I always feel that it's a lot of begging, and it never was any self accountability. It was always, we want this, we demand this, we should get this, we deserve this,
Absolutely.
We are owed this,
Absolutely.
but never. All right. So with that being said, this is what we need to do to go get those things.
Man, you know what? I really, one thing that I like to share is that even though we have politicians, or leadership,
Right.
sometimes just because we elected someone doesn't mean they always know how to maneuver and get things done.
For sure.
Right? They are just a representative. So I really, really think that aside from that, you can take your solutions, package them up. Don't just hairball. You can take your solutions and things for your neighborhood to your council member and folks like that to get the support you need to get it done. So like I think that's really important, that accountability you're saying.
I mean, I think a lot of people, like you say, even to package something up, that's true. And
Sad,
most of them don't even know who their city council people is. Sadly, again, this is not an indictment. We hope that this would encourage people to go figure out who that person is.
Yeah.
Because only if you're serious.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ain't serious, then it don't really matter. But if you're serious about what it is, I would hope that you want to know who these people are. Especially if you got kids,
Yeah,
trust me, they
absolutely.
get affected.
Absolutely.
So detailed city council budget and expenditures. And I guess when we talk about that, do you feel like it's enough transparency in that process?
No, man. So let me tell you, I worked for the city of Houston for quite a bit of time, and I was behind the finances on some things. I won't go deep off into it, but I'm gonna tell you, it's levels to this.
For sure.
For what the city puts out to you, to what really can be happening behind the scenes, can be two totally different pictures.
Sure.
And so, a lot of us don't know about stuff like TPIA, these Freedom of Information Act requests and these information requests. Like all this stuff is accessible to you, but the way they get you is you got to know what you're asking for. It's like shooting for a needle in a haystack, right?
It's like going to the library and say, I want a book.
I want a book. Exactly. And so what happens is you might ask for it, they're like, fine, we're gonna give you all the books and we're gonna charge you for it, right? Or something like that. But the transparency, it's not there. That's something we definitely need to touch on.
Do you feel like, how do we structure that as a community? Is that something that you feel like that we take to, especially in Houston? I'll explain real quick. When I say in Houston, I'm always referring to, in Houston, our politics and our city politics is a very top-heavy establishment. And if the mayor doesn't agree with whatever that item is, it can be denied, excluded, voided, whatever you want to call it, vetoed, and not be included into the agenda. That sometimes don't always play in the favor of the black community or black people in general. So, that process always can be fair. So when I talk about Houston, I'm always talking about a top-heavy type of establishment. So, I mean, what are some ways you feel like, if you have any, ways that since you've been in that way, in that position, to make that fair?
To make it fair, man.
Or I ain't gonna say fair, more transparency, I would say.
More transparent. And to be honest with you, I think, so in Houston, we have our super neighborhoods.
Right.
So it's all over the city. Some of us use them, some of us don't. I think that could be a really useful vehicle and tool to go at the city and say, we want to know what you're spending and what you're not spending, investing in our neighborhood, in our super neighborhood. Because it's part of the city's charter. I know you got charter in there.
We can go ahead and go into it.
Part
Talk
of
about it.
the super neighborhood is part of the city's charter. So at some point in time in history, there was some leadership that says these people need a larger voice or a seat at the table in what's going on.
Sure.
And so it's there for you. You just have to activate it. And I think that'll help bridge that gap. By being a part of the charter is kind of like you part of the family. How you gonna tell me no, right?
It's like the family will.
Right. So yeah, I think that's one way. But that takes us to get involved.
For sure.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the city charter, I guess I always bring up the city charter because, you know, when we talking about the powers of the mayor, things like that, that always is going to go back to the city charter.
Right.
And that don't matter where you are, it's going to go back to the city charter, especially here in the United States, I'm speaking of. And we talking about that, even we talk about holding the police chief and all these things that happen with cops, holding the police chief accountable, but how do you do that without that being a publicly elected position?
Right.
It's an appointed position by the mayor, and I doubt that any mayor that had to hire this person would totally indict the person that
Right.
they hired.
It looks bad on them.
For sure.
So absolutely.
So how do you handle that conflict of interest? Do you think, in your opinion, is something, if you want to speak on, that's something that needs to be changed, or do you think it's that way because of a purpose?
It can be changed,
Right.
and it should be changed. Now, one of the keys is it's like, and I hate to say this, it's the research and the data behind it. Like, we have to show or kind of almost prove on some level. We can't just say we want it to change.
Right.
Right?
That's
Why?
certain
What's the
instances.
benefit? Why? Because it's a big shift in the way the city has been doing things for years. You don't know
Sure.
what else it might disrupt or whatever the case is. But nonetheless, yeah, absolutely, it needs to change.
I think that that's I guess maybe it's that way because could it almost be a monopoly after you're a captain?
It can be. I can see how it can be.
I just thought about that.
It could be
I had never thought about it from that angle. I was like, okay, if you've been captain you didn't won captain for 15 years, and you know all these people, you done helped all these people out, you done put all these people into jobs, and now they're captains. How do you now circumvent this person?
I'll say this. The city is top heavy, but I think that landscape is changing. A lot of people are moving here. They have different perspectives and things like that. And so you're seeing like a real bottom up kind of grassroots approach to like governing communities. We're trying to govern ourselves a lot more now, but we still need to know how to plug in. So what I want to say is that these charters, these ordinances, they words on pieces of paper.
For sure.
They can be changed.
Right.
But it take us to have to organize. So like, you know, things like this book, knowing kind of where things are, how to use them,
For sure.
the Black Store, and then CGE, y'all having these meetings to kind of bring all those things together for people. We just need more hands and feet on the ground, getting the work done. The work done.
The work done.
Okay.
So let me ask you this, and we kind of spoke about this. What do you think is the, and it's just me asking on a personal level, what do you think is the hindrance from getting a normal person involved in the community? Or just, do you think not knowing? Do you think just...
It whiffle.
It whiffle.
Whiffle. What's in it for me?
What's
in it for me? I think if we can change that kind of, I
I'm
don't want
about
to
to
say
feel that,
change
right?
it. I don't want to say change it. I
For sure.
feel like you should figure out what's in it for you.
For sure.
But once you do, go put 110% into that to get it
Agreed.
where you need. Don't just say it, right?
Right.
But that's it, man. If you don't have something going on that people can relate to or attach themselves to, it's not gonna work. So that engagement piece, we're talking about politics, and then civic that engagement piece is big. You gotta get out, you gotta be on the street, you gotta knock on the doors, you gotta send the flyers, you got all that, right? You gotta do the events. That's part of the work, you know.
I know you live. I realize with our people sometimes we have to do a lot of hand holding. You know, with grown people, and you be like, man, I thought kids was tough.
Man, it's always only gonna be a few.
Oh, for
Everybody else kind of comes and goes, but I mean that's the nature of things. We all busy, but as long as you're giving that energy,
Sure.
the right energy is.
It's always gonna be good.
It adds up, yeah.
So we was getting off track a little bit, but we got on to, we talked about city charters. You kind of brought up the ordinances, and you know, for the audience, ordinances is I was about to explain it, not as powerful, but it still is important. I guess I realized, and I started looking up a lot of ordinances of communities that were just outdated. You know,
Yeah.
we may not have been using them anymore, but they definitely were still there.
There was a news report a couple weeks ago, and I knew this before from some deals I did, some transactions I did. It's still deed restrictions in the city of Houston says that we can't own property. So I don't care how old it is, and
Right.
we need to address it. So
Yeah.
these ordinances really shape how you live. They say what you can do with your house,
For sure.
what you can't do with what you can do with your property, what you can't do with your property, what you can build, all that kind of stuff.
For sure.
So I mean that's
It is. I just think we don't see it as important because a lot of people, again, if we're not owning our homes, a lot of people don't even know what, you know.
Right.
A lot of those homeowners associations don't know what a HOA is.
Right.
You know, and how many people even live in neighborhoods and don't know what their super neighborhood is. I know I lived in Third Ward for all my life, and I had never known nothing about what until. But again, like that, like I always say, it's kind of like Halima Hammond say, you know, evolvement only comes through involvement, and you can only evolve if you're involved.
Yeah.
And let's just say real estate, you can go study real estate on paper, you know, on internet all you want, but I guarantee you some things that you done came through actually doing a deal or doing a property
It's not in the
that
book
you
anywhere.
can't, what? It
It's
can't
not
teach you
in the
that
book.
experience. So there's just some things that you only go learn through being involved.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just what that is. It's just
Yeah.
like some things you just not gonna know unless you're involved. And I think ordinances, super neighborhoods, those things don't even enter, those definitions and words mean nothing to you until you wanna be involved.
Absolutely.
You know, it mean nothing to me.
Right now, you know, you're right. But I mean, go back to that. It's that with them. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Look, I gave one more example, and I told somebody, what movie was I watching with Martin, The Black Knight.
Okay.
And the dude in the castle kept saying, "Mind your tongue, boy. Mind your tongue." But again, when I was younger, I didn't even know what more means, so it meant nothing to me.
Right.
It wasn't until later on that I'm like, hold on,
What's this in this movie?
Oh, in this Disney movie? You know, so it taught me a lesson. Like sometimes some words mean nothing to you if you know.
You're not educated about it and you're ignorant to it.
Yeah. So look, get hip to it. So again, you don't know, we always referring to Our Black Agenda, A Guide to Black Power for those who's tuning in. You can always grab the book again from Amazon, ourblackslate.com, or if you're in Houston or surrounding areas, come to the Black Store, 8616, and come pick it up. We appreciate you. So let's get back to our tuning. That's my little commercial right there, y'all. So, community accountability and updates. I talk about a community accountability because I've probably been in the fight, really being involved for about 4 or 5 years, let's say. And before, well, I would say since then, I have known no politicians to throw a community meeting to update them on issues or anything that's going on that they need to do.
To host
Not
on their own.
Host their own. I'm not saying they come and show up and give a mini report or take questions and take pictures and kiss babies. Way, not that. But actually had a meeting that they specifically threw for their district or surrounding area
Actually
to make sure
organizing their community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important that people don't know who they are because they're not reaching out.
Yeah.
The people not reaching out. They don't know how they help. They don't know their job description. And shoot, low accountability. Look, they like that.
Well, I mean, we talk about it. What do you feel like we should be doing? I'm gonna ask you.
Well, I would say
On accountability.
on accountability for us, you know, right now I feel like it's only so far that you go with candidates that we didn't support, we didn't fund,
Okay.
you know, we didn't preemptively help or engage in the community and get to the position that they're in.
Okay.
So I think we only have a certain amount of sway over them anyway. But accountability, I feel like in these communities we can have our own meetings and demand that most of our representatives of that area is there to present. But one thing about that now, doing it after the fact, we can't establish that rapport of saying this is what we expect.
Right.
So now when we're going about it, we're going to lay the groundwork like we expect this monthly, bi-monthly, whatever that process is to say this is when we expect, you know, an update on things that's going on in our district.
Absolutely.
But I feel like it's hard to do that after the fact. And again, we didn't support these people. We didn't give them money. So why would they?
Out of here. Make it hard for them.
For sure.
Start making it hard for them.
So, you know, look, that's when I talk about accountability and updates of whatever that is. Because I think we can be proactive, but, you know, we've been reactive on a lot of things.
No, I agree. I mean, it can be hectic just trying to get them on that schedule. You're right.
Sure.
But again, I mean, let me tell you, the more people show up,
Right.
the more likely they will show up, right?
For
It's
sure.
just what it is. So if that's what we want, it's kind of one of the things we have to get out of demand.
It's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Like they'll come out, but we gotta come out.
It is, yeah.
And I agree, because we gonna be out.
Yeah.
We gonna be there.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like now when you talk about politics and stuff in Houston, people are like, man, you know these people. Like it's basically we're a tight knit group because you know who's been there, whether they on your side or not.
Yeah.
You know, we know who's been a part of the fight, whether you know their name, personally or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only a handful of us.
It is. It'll be that way for a while.
What? So, one of the other topics we talk about monetizing and empowering community groups.
Yes.
And I know this is an important topic because, of course, you're the president of a community group.
Of a community group.
So go ahead, give us your take.
So I've been working on a project. Part of this campaign.
Come on.
Part of this campaign is do the
I like
things
this
that matter.
shirt.
Do the things that matter.
I'm gonna
campaign.
watch that movie. Yeah.
And so I'll tell you a little bit about the campaign later. But in doing this and doing the research, we were focusing in at the time on Third Ward.
Yeah.
And one of the folks we were doing this project with, they found 30 plans. I think she said 30 different plans that they had studied over the years.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, nothing still has happened in this neighborhood from all these plans. Just a bunch of studying. So that means somebody got paid for these studies.
Right.
Somebody got broke off a check. These studies are not cheap. You know, to do an engagement study or analysis of a
How much
neighborhood.
did the disparity study cost? About $700,000.
Right. That's just one. So I want to say 30. So now, mind you, to do these studies, they need 9 times 10. They need
Us.
your input. They need your input. And a lot of times we show up and we willingly give it, thinking somebody is coming to help.
For sure.
They took that, they packaged it up in their study, and they ran off with the bag. And we didn't get paid anything. We put the money that we wanted in the plan, but we didn't get paid anything. So when I say monetizing these groups, that's what I mean. We need to start leveraging our collective voice as money.
So I would ask you this. So some people would ask, with monetizing the community budget like that, how do you choose who gets what and how much
In terms of
of a budget for these different community groups? Should everybody get the same budget?
I think where we are in Houston, for instance, let's just say, for instance, let's just throw an idea out there. Let's say if every super neighborhood had a budget.
Right.
Yeah, there's an annual allocation and or budget, but maybe your super neighborhood, y'all have to meet these 3 general criteria. Y'all have to have a full board, you know, y'all have to have at least X amount of meetings and a budget for the year. Or
Right.
something like that. And then it's there for you know, to work or things like that. Someone told me one time, they said, you shouldn't need any money for community organizing. I want you to tell me, as much as you've done,
Nah, you definitely need money.
You
You
need
know
some
what I'm
money.
saying? Yeah, you're not doing it for free, and don't get me wrong, it always can help. And I tell people it depends on what you're trying to do, too. I think a lot of people do a lot of feel-good stuff, you know,
Right.
and which is needed, too, but you're not doing this work without no money.
without no money at all.
Reason why I like economics.
And so I think when it comes to the city, especially, I harp on super neighborhood because it's part of the charter. There should be an administrative budget. Every other department and anything else attached to the city has a budget to operate, but we don't, right? So that's something. these different folks that come in to study us. We need to be, if they getting paid $1 million for the study, I want to know what set aside is for us.
For sure.
I don't care if you pay me $50 a night to show up to pick my brain. You're gonna pay something more than just some donuts and some orange juice, right? Because that's my time. I could have been with my daughter or whatever the case is. And then last, I feel like when you talk about feel good or you talk about protesting, I feel like we fight.
Yeah.
Black folks, we fight. We gonna fight. We'll come out. I care you come out and work.
Right.
Hey, we come to build something out in the back at the black store. It's like, when?
What time?
What time?
That's early.
Yeah, you know. But if it's a fight, you know, somebody did something to the black store.
Right.
Oh, they
yeah,
gonna be
this
out.
girl out there.
Okay, they're gonna be outside.
All right,
Now,
don't make me do what somebody do. Let me run the car up to the side of this mug.
My issue is that for those feel good, for those emotional things, a lot of times we don't monetize them ourselves, and we need to. Because if we can get that many people in a room for something feel good, for something that's horrific, think about what we can do. I hear you say this sometimes, at least, especially when I first met you.
Yeah, right.
If everybody put a couple dollars in the pot
Yeah.
and was on the same page, think about what you can do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we came up with this campaign. Now we tied just to real estate.
For sure.
So do the things that matter, but it's tied to real estate because I'm a broker.
People like real estate.
I'm a real
People like
estate
real
broker,
estate.
right? I'm a real estate broker. I'm an urban planner. So we feel like that's the way we can help people influence their community is through ownership in real estate.
For sure.
So that's it.
Look, you can't go no. I feel like this. I think a lot of people, and we talked about this earlier a little bit. People feel better giving to like real estate because they don't feel like it's a loss. The land not going nowhere.
Right.
You always pretty much tied in, locked in. And money secure.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're dealing with businesses and stuff like that, it's more of an idea, and it depends on the owner and how they run it, and failure. So
yeah, no, it could be that way. I mean, it's all a business though. Real estate is a business at the end of the day. If they don't realize it, you can lose your clothes,
For sure.
besides your drawers. So I mean, that's really what we're trying to do is meet people where they are. Some people are just learning. Some people are ready to actively do things.
Right.
Some people, we even got some things where we pulling in to make access to capital a little easier with different real estate funds and things like that. So
need that.
yeah.
So I'll ask you this: what would be your advice to someone in your community on how you would need assistance or help, or how they can be included in what you're trying to do?
So this is what I'm gonna say.
I'm out there.
This is what I'm gonna say. I'm the type of person and or leader, so to speak, that like, so long as you working, I'm working. So just communicate. So I'm gonna say again, if you got something, find out what's in it for you. What is it that you want to do?
Right.
Okay, in your community, whether it's clean the lot, start this camp. I don't care if it's benefiting where you stay. Come to a super neighborhood meeting.
Right.
Reach out to myself or whoever the leadership is in that area. Be willing to listen,
Right.
and then be willing to work. That's it. That's the way you're gonna get involved. Because if you come to me, I was joking earlier. If you come to me like I'm the pastor, and you come lay your problems down at the altar for me,
Lay your burdens down.
that's where they gonna stay. Right there. I got my own issues and problems. We can work at them together, but
Right.
I can't carry them for
You
you.
can't do it for you.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think a lot of people say that too. I think, what I used to tell even some of our own group members, like it's difference between giving out an idea, say, hey, this is a good idea. I'm gonna say, I agree with you. That's a good idea. But it's different from somebody saying, hey, this is a good idea, and guess what? I'll do it.
Yeah.
That's a whole different scenario in the
Yeah.
ball game, because now you taking it out of my hands, and now you taking personal accountability to not do something. And I think that's the highest form of
Now I can support you.
Right.
That's what it's about. Now I can support you.
Not do it for you.
Not do it for
Like we get it. Like so I tell people all the time, I agree with a lot of ideas. And I said even when it came to even making a book, when I spoke this to one of my co-authors, to Brother Tamani, he was like, why do we even need that? You know what I'm saying? So I say it take a me to go above and beyond and say, hey, let me write something down and let me show it to you. And then guess what?
No,
then it became a better idea.
This is powerful. It says a guide to Black Powerful, but just in the essence, this is powerful. It's just direct to the point and kind of lets me know and lets people know exactly, hey, plug in right here. It may not give you every little detail, but it points you in the right direction.
And guess what? It say volume 1. So volume 2 may point you to the detail. We don't know yet. You buy it and see. You know?
Absolutely.
But you know, one thing I feel like that was important too is the roles and responsibilities of all the elected officials that we have in the back.
Okay.
Because, you know, a lot of people, we talk about, you know, comptroller and all this stuff, but what do they do?
What is that?
Yeah. So I feel like that was important, that education, because we can look at all this stuff all day, but again, we go to community meetings, how often are we asking something of someone and that's not their job description?
All the time. They send the wrong person out all the time.
So, you know.
By the time they learn what they need to learn, they moved on to the next another job.
Look, now you know, you frustrated, we didn't get nothing done, but again, we barking up the wrong trees.
Right, yeah.
So I think it's important that we know what tree we barking up, you know, and it just comes back to us doing it. And I didn't want to, you know, again, to compile all this information and do stuff like this, anybody know you're not gonna go get one perfect thing from one source.
Yeah.
So we want to make it make sense for people and being able to actually implement something, like wherever you are. We didn't want this to be something that's geographic to just Houston.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We want this people to be able to use this and say, hey, you know, we can take to whether yours is a city,
Anywhere.
a parish, whatever you want to call it, town, a village,
Anywhere.
you know, but we just thought it was important that people know the information because, you know, it's a lot of reading. I told somebody the other day, people not interested in doing that, and feel like we say a lot about people are engulfed in money, status, and materialism.
Yeah.
And you know that feeds the soul.
Yeah, you're right. It's a balance to it, trying to incentivize folks, make it something that's worth that they want to put a little stock into, but at the same time making sure that they have some depth.
Sure.
You know, it's not just on the surface, just flash and, you know, a lot of talk, you know.
I mean, again, we try to do less talk and more action. We looked up probably about 19 different other Black agenda like resources that people had published throughout the United States.
Okay.
You know, and don't get me wrong, some of them had some good points, but it was more of on the just politicking side, like we just the advocation side. And I tell people we got to get beyond just advocating sometimes and say, hey, all right, now what we got to go do. And, you know, we just wanted to kind of take all those resources, you know, and not just do it the same way. I feel like in the past it been, you know, we've just kind of not done what we were supposed to do. We seen it, nobody actually put it down and say, hey, now what we need to go do and actually live by it. So, you know, hopefully we can get this going, implement this with all the different community groups. Again, if you're in Third Ward, you already know. I don't think y'all ain't having no meetings in person yet. So
we haven't had meetings in person. So I'll tell you, if you're following, if you're in Third Ward, you want to follow what we're doing out there, you can go to Third Ward SN67. I think we just have a Facebook.
Gotcha.
Again, we don't have a budget. So to have the right stuff we need.
No budget shit,
and
no
then
budget.
If folks have an interest in learning more about real estate and practicing in their community and how they can take back ownership control in the community, go to dt3m.com, sign up right there, getting that. We just started like a Facebook group there.
Okay. We're
Just
gonna make sure you tag all this stuff.
Start sharing a lot of that kind of stuff, and then we've been talking. I want to make sure this year
Come on.
we get some real estate programming for your people, man.
We're gonna get something. Y'all stay tuned. People that want to invest in real estate, learn about real estate. You know, I want y'all to be connected with the people that's really, really doing it. You know what I'm saying? Nothing against everybody that's doing their thing, but you know, I'm always about solutions and people that's out here actually putting together the work and you know, got integrity and people ain't got to worry about getting their money stolen.
Absolutely. You can come find me.
So let them know, leave the people with something, whatever you want to leave them with, whether that be events, whether it be some knowledge. You already told them a little bit how to find the groups. Leave with anything people you want.
Man, I don't wanna muddy it up anymore. I think we covered a lot And I think the message in it is to be accountable to yourself in your community. And so I'm gonna leave with that last message.
So we got to get some of them in the
Do
store.
the things that matter. I got you.
Come on.
I got you. But that's it, man. Y'all go check his book. So
Come on.
That's the last thing I'll say. Guide to Black Power. Definitely.
Appreciate it. And again, I just want to thank y'all for tuning in to Our Black Agenda, A Guide to Black Power. Again, you can go find and get the book at ourblackslate.com. You can get on Amazon. Oh yeah, and I forgot, now it's on Kindle, so you got no excuses. But I suggest you get a book so you can fill out some of the stuff in the back, because I guarantee it's gonna be information that people need to know. Or if you're in Houston, come back get it from the Black store if you haven't been here. We got the beauty supply store, got the nail shop, and of course we got the community garden in the back. So get plugged in, get involved. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. You know, everybody know my saying is your skin is your ticket in. Definitely go get the book. Thank y'all. Appreciate you.